Oh, James, can you hear me? James? Hello, James. Okay, good. Got you. Thank you. Are you in business already? James, are you in business already or are you thinking about it? Okay. What, tell me a little bit what your business is about. Thank you, James, for the background of your business. And as we go through the presentation, feel free to send questions in the chat box, and we'll manage those as best as possible throughout the presentation. Hello, Rodney. Rodney Kuick, right? Welcome. All right, it's 5:24. So far, it's only two of you, James and Rodney. I'm still expecting somebody else from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library to join us. Rodney, can you hear me okay? Just give me a, raise your hand or send me something in the chat. Okay, got it. Thank you. Perfect. James, I can see you. Rodney, I can not see you.
All right. I'm Eric, the moderator.
Hello, Eric.
Hey there, how are we doing?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. What I'll do is
I see your screen.
my screen. I'm screen sharing. Okay. So I'll go ahead and fix that stuff and just chime in as needed if I do need to chime in at all. And all right. I look forward to learning some things from you guys.
So, James, you're participating in the Simple Steps seminar?
Yes, sir, I am. Mm-hmm.
All right. If you could mute your microphone.
Okay.
And hello,
And,
Yolanda. Yolanda from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library is joining us.
all right. Our Mecklenburg, hello?
I think Yolanda's the first time I've seen
James,
you
we
without a
still see
mask.
your screenshots here.
Okay, so far we have three guests joining us: James, Gerard, Paul, and Rodney Kuik. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, or you can contact Eric. So Eric and I are co-hosting that today with Yolanda. And again, if you have any questions, any audio questions, whatever, please put it in the chat box and we'll try to respond to it throughout the presentation. So James told me he's already in business in the apparel and home decor business. Gerard, are you in business already? You'll have to unmute yourself. Rodney, how about you?
I'm sorry, Joe. I don't see any of our participants. I just see you, me, and our representative from Mecklenburg Library.
Yeah, we have 4 guests. Becky Durocher just joined us.
Great.
Becky, can you hear us okay? And Kayla Huntington. Can you see now,
All
Eric?
right.
Are you able to see the?
No, I can't. I only see the 3 of you. I can't see any of our participants at all.
When you see
Not the,
up in the upper where it says participants, there's two tabs, panelists and attendees. On the bottom, you should have a button that says
Attendees, yes.
participants.
There we go. Yep. I see their names. No, I'm not getting any video of them.
No, the videos are off.
The videos are off. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Correct.
Yeah, we got 8 people so far. That's great.
LaRonda Dumas just joined us. Welcome. Daryl Hare. Welcome to Simple Steps. All right, it's 5:30. We'll give it a couple of minutes here and we get started. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, and just a reminder to our guests, please make sure you're on mute. Thank you. And we have a guest just known by a phone number. And Matthew McKenna. Hello and greetings.
We've got Brittany Hart joining us and phone number, 4789 number.
Yeah.
It's a calling listener, okay? Very good.
I guess James still has his screenshot up for some reason.
Yeah. James has a question or hand up. James, do you have a question? Please put it in the chat box. Do you have any specific questions? Becky has trouble with her mic. That's okay. You're all supposed to be muted anyway, and any questions you have, if you please put them in the chat box.
Good. I'm glad everybody can hear us.
Very good. Okay, let's get started here. First of all, my name is Joe Warner. I've been a mentor with SCORE the last 5 years. And welcome to our presentation today on Simple Steps 1. I'm being joined today by Eric Overcash, who's going to join me and is going to handle some of the logistics in the background, but also steps in whenever appropriate. And also joining, my pleasure is to have Yolanda Slaughter from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library join us. So I'll give you just to kind of give you a little bit of a sense here of what's happening here tonight. I'll speak here for the next 45 minutes or so, give you an overview of what it's like to start your own business, give you some ideas on the good, bad, and the ugly. We'll talk about different aspects of different types of organizations, the kind of options that you have. We'll talk about the various components of a business, get set up legally, some of the accounting stuff. We'll talk about business planning at the end, and then we'll hand it over to Yolanda, who's going to talk to you about some of the terrific tools that the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library has to offer. Some great tools to help you as far as doing research on the market or your competitors. And it'd be my pleasure to hand that over to Yolanda around 6:30, and then we'll wrap up. We'll try to wrap up right around 7 o'clock or so. So thank you again for joining us. I trust you can see my presentation in the background.
Does yours have a culture bridge?
No, Joe.
Hold on.
Yeah, also we see Joe is, there we go. Now we see it, Joe.
Okay. So that's us.
There we go.
Everybody good?
You're good. Yeah.
Okay, maybe real quick about SCORE. SCORE is a national organization. We are all volunteers. We're about 100 people here in the greater Charlotte area. Most of us have been, working for larger companies or smaller companies. I've also been a business owner before, so I've made a lot of the mistakes that I'm going to tell you about today to avoid. We offer these workshops online, but if any of you have any particular interest in digging a little deeper, we offer free and confidential mentoring. So you just have to go to score.com, score.org, excuse me, and request a mentor. And it will be one-on-one sessions, at your convenience, at your time, and we'll talk whatever topics are important to you. And typically these meetings, for the last few years, obviously a lot of them have been via video, but a lot of times we meet in person. I personally feel we get a lot more done when we meet in person and get things done. In addition, we offer a host of different education programs. There's national programs, online recorded programs. So if you go to score.org and look for programs, there's a lot of material stuff available. And finally, we also have community programs. Typically Thursdays on at 5:30, we'll be somewhere in the community with different mentors. We'll have a topic that we talk about, invite any of you to join us and ask questions, meet us face to face, and pose any questions and share some of your own experiences with other folks that are joining us. Okay, real quick, and I don't know, I would imagine most of you are calling in from the Charlotte region, but we have several chapters in North Carolina. And again, you can go to score.org to find exactly what chapter you should belong to based on your zip code. I mentioned one-on-one mentoring. Basically, what we're doing today is session 1. That's sort of the startup basics. We also have follow-up simple step webinars that deal more deeply with the business planning. They're dealing, we've got one on marketing, all kinds of goodies in terms of social media, how to reach your target audience. And then the 4th session is on financial matters, how to set up your books, how to deal with taxes, etc., how to record your expenses. So a lot of really good, helpful nuggets that you can watch online. So the purpose really today is for those of you who are thinking about starting a business is to kind of give you a sense, what's it about? What does it take to start a business? And also to really help you make a decision. Is this something for you? Are you ready for this yet? Should you wait maybe? And we'll come to that as we go through our presentation. So what you learned today is a little bit about the many myths and realities of entrepreneurship, owning your own business, critical success factors. What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? You have different options. There's different types of ownership. We'll talk about S Corp versus LLCs, etc. A big topic, I think one of the most critical aspects of starting a business is the business planning part of it. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's really important to have a game plan and set your goals for the year, because if you don't, it's very hard to track whether you're successful or not. We also have a little self-assessment page for you at the very end that kind of ties everything together, gives you an opportunity to look at your own situation and kind of assess it and see where are you, where do you have holes, where are you behind, and that might be great input as you start your journey with one of our mentors. Good. Eric, are we good to go?
Yeah, it looks like it. Everybody's here and present.
Everybody can hear us all right?
Absolutely, Joe.
Good. All right, so let's talk about the first things. We'll talk about some of the myths, some of the false conceptions of starting a business. People think it's as an entrepreneur, you kind of work your own hours. You can, but keep in mind, it's your business, and the hours that you put in are the hours that you're going to get benefit from. So typically, I can tell you from experience, the startup is hard. It's going to take a lot of hours to get it off the ground. But it's very satisfying to be able to, you know, have your own business, to run your own business, not have a boss. But it takes a lot of work to get it started. People think they have a unique business. And I can tell you, very few people have a unique business that, you know, you have no competition. You always have competition, and I think a big part of what we'll talk about is that you need to understand who your competition is, so that you have an opportunity to differentiate yourself from your competition, right? So if James is in the apparel business, home decor business, and the question is, okay, how are you standing out from your competitors, right? Are you offering better products, cheaper products, better service? That's something, you know, you really have to define based on who your competition is in the marketplace. Real quick on taxes, people think you can deduct everything. Not the case. The IRS takes a really hard look at small business and make sure that they run their business appropriately. As a business owner, you don't have a boss. Very true. Very true. You're the boss. That's the good news. The bad news is you're the boss, which means the buck stays with you. If things don't go well, you don't really have to look at anybody else but yourself. You have to look in the mirror and saying, what didn't I do? What could I do better? It's invigorating, but it's also intimidating. And finally, business owners get to do whatever they want to. Is that true, Eric?
That's a myth.
Yeah, that's definitely. Anyway, so the reality is a lot of small businesses fail after 5 years, 50-50 typically, and then if you go out a little bit further, after 10 years, almost 80% of small businesses fail. And there's a number of reasons, and we'll talk about those. So some of the factors that allow you to be, you know, successful are: do you have experience in your field? Are you starting a business where you bring some expertise, where you can right away, you can act as a credible salesperson, because, you know, you're always going to sell, right? And whatever business you're in, you have to sell, you have to find your target audience, and you have to sell them something. So are you credible? Do you have the kind of experience and background in your field that your customers will expect from you? You need strong work ethic. You got to work hard, wear a lot of different hats, do a lot of different things, use your time, your time very, very prudently. Don't waste your time during the daytime when you have a chance to reach out to customers and do, you know, paperwork or website work. That's stuff that you can do on weekends. During the week is time when you deal with your employees, you deal with your customers, you deal with your suppliers. Ability to multitask and to manage, you know, various things at the same time. That's what it is. In a small business, you're going to wear a lot of different hats. I mean, you have to be able to, you know, shift very seamlessly from one area to another one. And the other one we've talked about, mentors. Yeah, being able to take advice and help let people give you feedback. That could be from customers, that could be from your spouse or a friend. Look, at the beginning, you're going to make mistakes, and it's good to get feedback. And the nice thing about the small business is that you can learn from your mistakes and you move on. In a big company, it's oftentimes more difficult. You know, you work for a large company, the wheels move slowly, and to change something takes a lot of effort, and oftentimes doesn't happen at all. So in a small business, you can change gears very quickly. Finally, and a really important point is adequate capital. You got to have money to start, got to have some funds to start your business. Yes, you can get, you can ask for funding and all that, but most banks and organizations that are willing to lend you money insist that you bring some money to the table, that you have some skin in the game. And why do you need financial resources? Because starting out, you have to buy tools and equipment. You might have to sign a lease and have office space or warehouse space. You have to get licenses and permits. You have to pay accountants and attorneys. If you sell an actual product, James was talking about selling product. Well, you need to have an inventory. Inventory costs money, and you have to have some money set aside, because typically the way it works is your revenues move up over time, but your expenses start on a higher point. You have a lot of initial startup expenses. So the delta, basically, the difference between the two is that you're probably going to be have a cash deficit the first few months. That means you need to have some money set aside to make sure that you can pay your bills. Considerations when you start out. Can you, if you're quitting your job, for example, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to bank on this business generating enough money so I can pay myself and essentially replace my salary. Can you survive the startup phase? Do you have enough cash flow to cover your monthly living expenses? Do you have debt? Can you take out more debt? Do you have money in your savings? Typically, the rule of thumb is if you start out a business, you should have somewhere at least 6 to 9 months of expenses in an account to cover. So if your expenses each month are $5,000, that means you need to have between $30,000 and $60,000 in your checking account to cover your startup expenses and initial costs before you're starting revenues and get paid. Okay, there's different options that you have. You can start a brand new business from scratch. Obviously the advantage is you're not hampered by any predecessor, maybe bad reputation in the marketplace, or bad products or whatever. You're starting clean. You can start your own location. You have your own name and a logo. You build your own business from scratch. It takes a lot more work because you have no customers, so you're building them. But the positive thing is you can build it the way you can build your brand the way you want to build it, right? And a brand is you initially. You're the person. You're the face to the customer. You're the face to your suppliers and possibly employees and all that. And they're looking for you and what do you stand for? What's your business stand for? And in a new business, you can determine all that and define, where you want to play and who you want to sell to. And do you want to go to consumers or do you want to go B2B? You have all these different options. Starting from scratch is obviously risky because you don't have a track record. You have to build that brand. You have to go out and build customers. And if you've never sold, selling initially and going out and finding people who are going to buy your product or your service, that's hard work, right? You have to learn how to become a salesperson. You can buy an existing business. Existing business is wonderful. You already have customers and suppliers. They have known processes. The brand name may already be established. And before you buy it, you can do due diligence and look at all the financial records and the history to make sure the business was doing well. So it's from that standpoint, it's giving you a head start. The flip side is it's going to cost you money because somebody who's going to sell a business wants money in return. So it's going to be a lot more expensive to get started. You can buy a franchise. And I tell you what, that's for a lot of people, that's a really good option. So a franchise is, a McDonald's, it's the local print shop. It's a company that has been established, a brand name has been established, and they're going out and selling local shops, local franchises. You can buy that franchise from a franchisor. You're paying money. Obviously, there's some upfront money, and then you're paying sort of an ongoing royalty based on your revenues. But the good news is that that brand is probably already established. So when they advertise, it drives customers to your business already. You get established processes and training from the franchisor. They continue to help you because it's in their best interest, obviously, that you do well. The better you do, the more royalty, revenues they gain from you. I was a franchisee. We had great camaraderie. We got together with other franchisees and had peer-to-peer sessions and uncovered common problems and discussed solutions, all that. So it's a good way. It's a good way to get started, but again, it does take some money up front, and you're going to be more limited in terms of the marketing things that you do versus starting your own business, because a national brand has, set advertising and marketing standards, and basically you're going to run those. You don't have much of an opportunity to change that. You do what basically the franchisor tells you. Home-based business, if not getting an office, but doing it from home. Obviously, the commute is excellent. You don't have to go far. Your costs are much lower. You have a flexible schedule. There are some tax advantages. There is a home office cost that you can deduct. And if you're depending on who you work with, you can find employees really anywhere in the world, and you find customers anywhere in the world. The hard thing is working from home without other people is, for a lot of people, it's distracting. The isolation is tough. Being distracted by good weather and, oh, let me take the dog out, or hey, I'm going to cut the grass today. It's a good day to do that, or something's going on. It's very difficult to stay focused for some people. Definitely it was for me. And your family distractions, if you have, a spouse or kids running around, you've got to figure out ways to really shut down and make sure you can focus on your work. Finally, financing is also a little bit more difficult if you're working from home. Online business, obviously that's becoming something that's becoming a lot more popular. The startup costs are pretty low. You can really reach anybody in the world from that standpoint, but you obviously going to have a lot more competition too, because anybody who works as an online business is going to have a lot more competition. The opportunity for you to differentiate yourself is a lot more difficult. I don't know if anybody's interested in nonprofit. We have SCORE offers a very good nonprofit seminar as well. A lady from Atlanta, she comes in and she gives you all the good and the bad and the ugly on starting a nonprofit. Let me just say this: you can get grants from the government, depending on what you do. Obviously, that is a sensitive issue these days, and a lot of the grants are falling by the wayside as we speak. You can pay salaries to employees and pay fees. But typically, when you're a nonprofit, you must have an educational or charitable purpose. I mean, that has to be. You can't just set a nonprofit and run it like a normal business. There has to be the purpose to provide charity to organizations or to folks, or education. All profits stay within the organization. Okay, let's talk about some of the aspects of running a business. I mentioned before, you're going to wear a lot of different hats, right? You're the CEO. That's the fun job. You get to decide everything and do everything. But there's a lot of admin work that needs to be done. You have to do the marketing. You have to do sales. Then if you make a sale, then you're going to handle the customer service aspect, the fulfillment part of it. You have to, if you hire people, obviously, then you become the HR manager. Very important, you have to do the accounting part. You have to keep track of the money that comes in and the money that goes out. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but if you write down one thing, I'd say having good accounting practice is really critical to run your business. Okay. Branding. So what is branding? Branding is part of advertising. It's the brand that you stand for. And if you don't have a product, but you offer a service, then you are the brand, right? You sell yourself. I mean, you go out, and whether it's dry cleaning business or hair salon or whatever, if you're a painting company, had all the kinds of different clients, you become the brand. You have to establish how you're going to operate, what type of product, what kind of service are you going to offer? Are you going to be upscale and charge a little bit more? And can you back up your upscale positioning with, a better product and a better service? Or are you saying, hey, I'm going to go low price and I'm trying to, saturate the market, and you're trying to go in with low price? All different options. Let me say, low price is typically not a good strategy, especially starting out, just because low price means low margins, and you will never get your prices up again, right? So from that standpoint, I'd say if you start out a business and you get some pushback maybe on your pricing initially, you can offer something maybe like an introductory promotional discount or something, but don't drop your prices because very hard to raise prices in this world. So if you're starting out your business, I think the number one question is, who are you going to sell it to? Who's going to buy from you? Who's going to pay you money, right? I mean, you have to determine that. That's your target audience, right? And it could be businesses, it could be individuals, it could be organizations, whatever. You need to define who's going to buy from me and why are they buying from me? And again, why are they buying from me and not from somebody else? Or if they're already buying from somebody, how do I get them to switch, right? What can I tell them that would prompt them to say, okay, I'm going to drop my current supplier and I'm going to buy from you. So you need to figure out what is it that I can do that gets customers to switch to you. Marketing, so selling is the part when you're dealing with customers, right? You're selling potential customers. Marketing is really everything behind selling. It's your efforts to reach your market and create an interest in your products and your services. It's advertising, it's promotions, it's social media, it's all the things, it's your website, it's all the things that help you generate that sale, right? And it has to speak again to your positioning. It has to speak to, if you think of your typical website, it's here's what we do, here's about us. So you tell them about you and your background and how you came into this business and why people should buy from you, right? And then you talk about your products and maybe your pricing and whatever else. But it's all about your ability to promote your business. And as I mentioned before, we do have a simple step 3 workshop that deals entirely with marketing. That's going to go a lot deeper in here. I'm just kind of scratching a little bit on the surface to kind of give you a little bit of a flavor what marketing is involved and what it involves and what you have to consider. Okay, so sales is now the part where you deal with customers, prospective customers. So you have to figure out who am I going to sell to, right? So if I'm a painter and I want to go out and sell my painting services, do I go after the commercial big buildings, or do I go into neighborhoods and go to homeowners and try to sell my service? And how am I different? How do I reach them? And then when I'm in front of them, how do I sell myself, right? I have to be able to quote my service, right? I have to be able to provide a description of what I'm willing to offer and what it's going to cost. But to get this even done, you have to first figure out, well, who's going to buy from me? How do I find the homeowners? How do I get in front of homeowners and make a presentation? And then once I have made a presentation and they said, okay, well, send me a bid, send me a quotation. You have to develop that. And then, the art of closing, that's something then, you send in your quotation, you don't hear back what's going on. Are you too low? Are you too high? Whatever, all of that, closing your deal is a big deal. And then once you get the actual deals, then obviously then you have to process the order, turning into real business. So as an owner, you kind of have to ask yourself a couple of things. Am I weak in any particular area? Where am I strong? And that's going to be your strong suit. You want to make sure that you leverage your core skills, your strength. But if there's areas where I'm maybe a little shaky, the question is, can you take some online courses? How do you make yourself, more of an expert in the field you are? There's, there are so many opportunities online, free of charge. We can learn, we can grow, we can improve your skills. By the way, if I go through these charts quickly and I don't cover everything, everybody's getting you're getting a copy of the entire handout, so you'll be able to get everything that I've shared with you in a PowerPoint presentation tomorrow. Business location, obviously location, depending on your business. I mean, I've seen some business that are hidden away and they'll never get any walk-in business, right? It's very, very hard to get walk-in business if you're in a bad location. But maybe location is not important to you, so that maybe that's not a critical factor for you. A big part is pricing, obviously, right? You initially going to start out and saying, well, how much should I charge for my service, right? And again, I think what you'll find out, you can go and do some research. You can look at your competitors. There's people out there, you can, look around, you can, call up people, you can go online and figure out what do other people charge, right? What do my competitors charge? What does it look like? And what do my products cost? Maybe my products cost me more. Maybe they're better products. So maybe my pricing needs to be a little bit higher because I'm selling a premium product or a premium service. So understanding your competitors is important. Obviously, the quality of their product is critical. The pricing, the services, maybe they offer some after services that you don't. They have some reputation, good reputation, bad reputation. You really don't know. You need to, you can Google stuff and find out about competitors and maybe go into their stores and walk around and observe and figure out, oh, there's an opportunity for me. Maybe here's here's an opportunity for me to be different. Here's how I can differentiate myself. Excuse me. Okay, the legal part of it. So if you want to start your company, I think it's important that you have some sort of legal protection. And you can set up a simple one as a sole proprietorship. That's just you. You can set up a partnership with another person or people, or you can set up a limited liability company, an LLC. I'll tell you what, I would say anyone who's really serious about starting their own business, get the legal protection of an LLC or C corporation. These all become a little bit more complicated, but an LLC is fairly easy to set up. And what it does, it protects your personal assets. So if you get in any sort of trouble and you have, America is the land of lawsuits. So anything goes wrong and somebody sues you, you want to make sure they can't touch your personal assets. So if you set up legally as a company, they can only go after your company assets and not your own personal assets, right? So that's an important thing. But our suggestion is always, we're not lawyers and we're barely legal experts. If you're ready to start, talk to an attorney. There's attorneys even in the SCORE network that will do that free of charge and figure out what's best for you. It all depends on, are you going to bring in other people into the organization? Will you have multiple partners? Will it just be you? You're looking at maybe there's various forms of taxation. So everybody has different situations. So my suggestion would be talk to an attorney to kind of give you some good advice on how to get set up, but get set up one way or the other. As I said, sole proprietorship or partnership is the easiest, the simplest one. But liability, lawsuits, somebody going after you, LLC or S corporation is the way to go. You also have to deal with business licenses, permits in your industry. You make sure you check that out. You make sure that you have, and I know here in South Carolina, I'm in Rock Hill, you have to have licenses in a number of different industries, get approvals. You can get certifications. So you have to make sure you look into that. If you hire people, of course, you have to look at all the different labor laws. If you bring people from abroad, which is probably not very likely right now, you have to look at immigration laws. And then, of course, you have all the IRS and Social Security withholding stuff to consider as you grow and have employees. Very important, insurance. You're going to need insurance. If you have a property, you need property insurance, liability. If something breaks, you have a liability insurance. There's also actually there is at the bottom, a professional liability. That is actually a insurance that protects you if a client sues you for whatever reason. Something goes wrong, you do a service, something goes wrong, you give them bad advice, you do a bad job on something, they decide to sue you. Professional liability insurance can help cover that. If you have cars, you need some sort of auto insurance policy. Umbrella covers a lot of ground. You hire people, of course, then you look at workers' comp, life insurance, health insurance, and all that stuff. Okay, I mentioned before business plan. Business plan is really, really important. So I suggest to anyone who's starting out with a new business, you probably have so much stuff in your head. You've been thinking about it for years. I want to do this. I want to do this. Put it on paper. It doesn't have to be in a fancy form. The Word document that we'll show you a couple of sort of outlines on what that looks like. But put it on paper, because first of all, when you commit to paper, it's typically a much better, it's more thought out, it's more articulate than it's in your head. It's becoming a planning tool, right? I mean, at some point in time, you're going to write a business plan that says, okay, I'm going to start my business in July, and I'm going to go out and do all these things to find customers, and then hopefully then by August or September, I get my first customers, I make my first sales, and then in October, I get my first check. My money goes in the bank. So that's what I just showed you is part of planning, right? I mean, it's based on assumptions. You're going to sit and look at your business plan and trying to figure out, okay, when am I going to start making money, right? What month am I going to start invoicing, and then when is the money coming in? And at the same time, that's the revenue side. On the expense side, you can map out and say, okay, what money goes out the door? What money do I have to spend? Planning your expenses, as I said before, is very important. And you can put that in a spreadsheet. There's a lot of simple planning tools to do that. But it captures your ideas and then takes your ideas and turns it into a actionable business plan. Let me say this, if you're trying to get funding from a bank, or if you think you can get a grant, or even if you have a rich uncle who said, oh, call me when you're ready to go, they want to see some sort of a business plan. They want to have an idea that you have a plan on how you're going to build your business. And the better your plan, the more well thought out it is, the more confidence they have in you. And it's all about confidence. Banks evaluate you in terms of risk. If you have a good selling proposition, a good plan, it's well thought out, good assumptions, they're more likely to give you money. And if it's half-assed and they're looking at you like, not sure that's going to work, they might still give you money, but with very high interest rates, not very favorable rates, and I'm not sure that it's going to be something that's going to work out for you. So the work of putting together a business plan is really, really critical. I'll just give you a couple of quick sections here. You typically have a table of contents. The executive summary is really good for you to. It's actually if you think about starting your own business, writing an executive summary is a great way to get started, because it basically defines and says, hey, Joe Warner, I want to start my printing business. I'm targeting small businesses that don't have in-house capabilities. We pride ourselves in quick turnaround and great service. We deliver to our customers, whatever, you kind of define who you are, what you want to do, how you're going to grow. And then, as you go through the various sections, you define your business, and your financial forecasts are what I just mentioned in an Excel spreadsheet or whichever way you want to configure it. QuickBooks has a budget tool that you can put in your monthly budget projections, and you basically just it's based on assumptions. You're saying, okay, when am I going to start getting customers? When am I going to start getting money coming in? And at the same time, you project your expenses. The two together kind of show you if you're making a profit or loss, and give you a pretty good idea what your business is going to look like a year from now. And the supporting data is really, it's all your assumptions. Like I just said, I mean, nobody's going to question you about your business plan. They're going to question your assumptions. Does it make sense? Do you really think you're going to be able to get 10 new customers by September? And what pricing are you assuming? So it's about assumptions, good assumptions, which are based on doing some of the research. that Yolanda will talk to you about in a minute. Here are the folks that you should definitely work with. Have a banker, and you should have your own. If you have starting your own business, or if you have your own business, I trust you have your own business checking account, right? Keep your business and your personal expenses separate. Keep it clean. Get a checking account. They have free checking accounts. Doesn't cost you any money, but it's going to be a lot easier to track if you use your checking account that's totally dedicated to money coming in, money coming out. Mentioned attorney before, right? Having an attorney kind of set your company up. Not sure you're going to need an attorney much beyond that, but it's good to have someone that you call for legal advice if an issue arises. Accountant, yeah, most of you are gonna file taxes at your end, so you're gonna have a tax accountant, someone who's gonna look at your books. I would say, one of the most important aspects again is, understanding your books, and the books are simple. It's money coming in, money going out, right? You can keep that. That's what accounting is all about, and you can do that in Quicken or QuickBooks or in a spreadsheet, whatever. But if you keep good track of your accounting, then your year-end close and your tax preparation is so easy. I'm telling you, if you just do the work, and I just met with one of my clients, set it up in QuickBooks. So maybe set up 1 hour a week. Maybe it's Friday afternoon when everything's kind of slowing down and happy hour starts early. Take all your expenses, all your receipts and all that, and put them into QuickBooks and then create your invoices and do all that. Do it one time, all at once. But by doing it regularly and keeping up with it, it's going to make your life so much easier at the end of the year. We talked about an insurance agent. There's great insurance brokers. They don't cost you anything. They'll look across different companies and find the right insurance product for you. And of course, as I said before, a business mentor. Having someone like Eric, who's been in business, who understands the ins and outs of selling and creating follow-up sales and whatever it takes. Having someone who can act as a sounding board to you is real helpful. So I encourage any of you who are moving forward with SCORE as far as workshops, consider getting a mentor who can work with you one-on-one, very discreet, very confidential, and act as that sounding board, maybe point you in a different direction, maybe ask you some what-if questions, and point you in the direction of some resources as well. Okay, this pretty much concludes my presentation here. I'm going to show you a little self-assessment form right here. You look at that. It has 5 areas basically, and you think about your business or your business idea, and score yourself and say, okay. And James, we talked briefly at the beginning. You have the apparel business and the home decor business. Look at it and say, okay, is my product meeting an unmet need, or is it something that already is established? Or could I take it and maybe get some new customer groups, etc.? And based on that, give yourself some points. So obviously, 0 is I don't have anything, and 10 is, oh yeah, I got it. A great unique product. So be honest and give yourself a score. Do the same thing for, hey, do I know what my market is? Who's going to buy from you? Do I really have a very clear positioning in the marketplace? So if I went, the infamous elevator speech, if you're riding in an elevator with someone from a potential customer and he said, hey, so Jim, what do you do? And you're able to very quickly establish and explain who you are and how you're different. And, somebody's, oh, okay, I might like to do business with you. So that's the marketing part. You have that. You have a good sense of that. The implementation is, what it takes to start. Do you have what it takes to start, right? Take a hard look. Do you have some of the funds? Do you have some of the resources? Are you able to quit your job? Are you going to do it? I know a number of people who said, I'm not going to quit my job. I'm going to start this after hours and on weekends. Well, keep in mind, if you're going to work it, if you do it after hours on weekends, there'll be not going to be too many hours, right? And so you're not going to reach maybe a lot of people on weekends either. So kind of keep that in mind. How are you going to run this business? And are you going to run it part-time? Are you going to do it full-time? Are you going to get, a spouse, a friend involved? How are we going to do this? The funding part. Do you have money to start up? Do you have money saved? Do you maybe need to work for 2 years and say, okay, I'm going to work the next 2 years, and my goal is to put $10,000 aside that I can use as startup funds, right? And finally, it's are you personally ready? It's not easy quitting a job. It's not easy starting a business and running a business. And if you feel confident on your own and do it, and you don't mind setbacks, and you actually relish setbacks, because a lost opportunity is an opportunity to grow. You learn from mistakes, and again, as I mentioned earlier, the fun part about a small business is that you can learn from your mistakes, and you can shift gears very quickly and say, hey, maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to upgrade my products. Maybe I'm too inexpensive. I need to figure out a better way to sell my product, to package my product. But it is something that you have to do. There is nobody that you can call and say, hey, do this for me. Your business is your business. That's good and bad. But it's a challenge, but it can be extremely satisfying when you get the results that you're hoping for. So you get that also tomorrow with your presentation. So that gives you an opportunity to kind of maybe sit down quietly and kind of go through this objectively, and it kind of gives you an idea of, hey, where am I in this, and where do I have some holes? Where do I need to maybe invest a little bit before I'm ready to start with my business? Anyway, and it's also a good tool here, maybe to share with your mentor and ask them to kind of help you in specific areas to get started. So just to kind of recap real quick, so if you testing the different business ideas, so we talked about, you can go and find on the score.org website in Charlotte, there's many different resources, but the starting your business, the simple steps workshops 2 through 4 are available online, and you can get you get an entire workbook for that as well, with lots of very helpful hints as well. Excuse me. Okay. Just a couple of questions for you to ask yourself. I tell you what, we'll come back to this question. I've talked a lot. I'd like to have Yolanda now step up and talk to you a little bit about some of the resources from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. And I'll come back to wrap up with Eric. Eric, do we have any questions, anything in the chat that you want to address at this point?
The only question that came up was, can I, at any point, if I establish a sole proprietorship, can I then transition that to an LLC?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I said, sure, anytime, but always get professional advice from an attorney before you make that kind of a transition.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you can always change the structure of your business. And a lot of people start out as a sole proprietorship and then realize, wait a second, there's probably it probably makes a lot of sense for me to move up to an LLC or to an S corp. Yeah, very good question. Any other questions, Eric?
There's one more question. Can you let us know the date of the next session? I think probably that means Simple Steps session 2.
Those are online, so it's not a live workshop. It's a recorded workshop that you go into.
And they would find that by going to the score.org website.
Correct.
And in the toolbar at the top, there's a toolbar that says resources. Pull that menu down, and it'll have 2 choices. Click on the webinars, and you'll be introduced through that way.
Yeah, Eric, maybe you can put that link in the chat box. So this way then people can just, take it from there because it's on a previous page. Yeah. That'd
Yeah.
be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. If there's any other questions,
No.
we can handle them. Sorry.
No other questions.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Then my privilege to hand over to Yolanda Slaughter with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for giving me some of your time to share information about the library's resources. I know at the beginning of this session, I think a couple of people put in the chat where they were calling in from. I only saw Charlotte and Raleigh. So I was wondering just if you have a quick second and you're comfortable, if you could raise your hand, use that the hand raise reaction to tell if you are not in Mecklenburg County. Okay. All right. So I see. Oh, okay. So I see some people. All right. So I do want to mention that these resources that I'm going over are available to the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library customers. However, if you live in North Carolina, most of these resources are going to be available to you through NC Live. Now, if you are outside of North Carolina, I'm not exactly sure of all of the resources you have access to, but usually public libraries will have access to some business resources. So definitely get in touch with your public library. If you are interested in getting access to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library's resources and you don't live in Mecklenburg County, you can purchase a non-resident account. It's $45 per year. And so that would give you remote access to all of our digital resources. And then of course you can also use our physical collection as well. But I just wanted to get that out of the way just to make sure there wasn't any confusion about what's available, where you are, or how you can get access to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library's resources. But I am here to share with you how public library resources can help you if you are in business or thinking of a business. I know it's already been mentioned about a business plan, and we've taken a look at kind of the checklist to kind of score yourself on where you are in your business planning stages. And so the library is just here to kind of fill in those gaps so you can make sure that your business plan has all the information that it needs. And of course, with public libraries, we are funded by your taxes. So since you've already paid those taxes, you might as well make the most of what you've paid for. So I'm going to share some of the resources that are available through the library by looking at an example. And so we're going to be looking at if I wanted to open a pet supply store. I know from previous classes, it doesn't seem like many people have pets anymore. But for those pet lovers, this is for you. So we'll start off with our first resource called the ABI Inform Collection. It's a great resource specifically for the first research industry profiles that are available. This gives you a great SWOT analysis for specific industries, finding out those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities that are available in a specific industry. It also, if you look here, will give you some NAICS codes and SIC codes, which can help you do further research. So that first research industry profile coming out of that ABI Inform collection can give you a lot of information about specific industries. And in this case, when I looked up the industry profile for pet care services, I found out that 70% of households in the US have at least one pet. So that's a lot of pets that probably need supplies. So this is just helping me build the case of why my company might succeed, why it might be a good idea for me to start a business in this industry. Another resource we have is the Data Axle Reference Solutions, and it's a great resource for finding information about companies. In this case, I was able to do a search within Data Axle, and I was able to find that there are 269 businesses in Mecklenburg County that are already selling pet supplies. So those would be my competitors, right? So now I know that I do have a little bit of competition. And so I'm probably going to have to work on differentiating myself from those competitors, but you begin to build that picture of what you need to do in order to be successful in that industry. Also in Data Axle Reference Solutions, we got that list of the 200 plus pet supply businesses that are already in Mecklenburg County. There's also a feature that allows you to see a heat map. So you can look at a map and see where those companies are located. And so you can take a look at that map and find out maybe there are some areas where there aren't any pet supply stores. And maybe that's where you want to start looking to set up your shop. We have another resource called Simply Analytics. And while Data Axle and ABI Inform would be available to all North Carolina customers, Simply Analytics is a separate resource that Charlotte Mecklenburg Library does pay for separately. But Simply Analytics is a great resource for demographic information and information about customers. I will let you know that there are other places that you can get this information. Census information is available for free. There's also a resource called Social Explorer, which has a lot of demographic information. But Simply Analytics just makes it so much okay. It does put it into a great way to display. It has a great way to display information that's different from what the census offers or what Social Explorer offers. But looking in Simply Analytics, it gives me a lot of information, as I said, about demographics and about customers as well. So from Simply Analytics, I can find out where there are people or households spending money on their pet supplies. For this specific slide, where the darker areas are, that's where I know people are spending the most money if I look at my legend here. So maybe looking at this map, I can take a look at it and see, oh, I need to send mailers out to these zip codes, these areas, or I need to set up my business in these areas because this is where people are spending their money on pets. Now you can also look at the information in Simply Analytics in different views. And once you get into this resource, you'll be able to see that there's a map view and there's also comparison view. But as I mentioned, it has some great demographic information. And so looking at this data in 2022, I find out that Mecklenburg County spent almost $500 million on pets. So that seems like quite a large chunk of change for people to be spending on their pets in 1 year. So that's information that you can get from Simply Analytics. Now, with just those three resources, ABI Inform, Simply Analytics, and Data Axle, I found out that there's $500 million in sales that's going on in Mecklenburg County. There's 269 competitors in Mecklenburg County. And if I take a look at that statistic that we got from ABI Inform, 70% of households have pets, then I can assume that in Mecklenburg County, there's close to 300,000 households that have pets. So if we do a little bit of math, assuming that everything's evenly spread, that means that there is close to $2 million out there per year per competitor. And that we have the opportunity to serve or supply a little over 1,000 households per business. So that is a great kind of picture snapshot to take a look at to kind of boost your business plan, to have those statistics in the plan. But once you get that information, you can also combine that information. As we said earlier, you can see here on the right, I have my Data Axle heat map that showed me where all of my competitors were. and where there might be some space for me to set up my business where there weren't so many competitors. And then on my left, I have my map from Simply Analytics telling me where there are households spending lots of money. So if I compare those two maps, I can see where there isn't a saturation of competitors, but there are a lot of people who are willing to spend money. And that can let me know where there's high spending and low competition. Now, I also wanted to mention once again the demographic information that's available through Simply Analytics. You can get a lot of information about age, language, housing, education. All of that information is available to you through Simply Analytics and can help you decide on what your marketing strategy will be. So once you find out where you're going to get set up and who you will be selling to, you might want to figure out what you want to say. And you can use a resource like Masterfile Premier in order to find expert and authoritative quotes that can help support your business. In this case, you can see we found a great article about picking the perfect bed. And so maybe I can find a quote because I sell the number one pet bed from this article. So maybe I can put that in a quote on my Instagram post. This is just a great way to find actual facts to help support your business and what you do. You'll also want to keep up to date on local business news, see what's happening in your area. And so you have access to the Charlotte Business Journal and the Charlotte Observer with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library card. You also have access to other local, national, and international newspapers with your library card. You can go through Newsbank in order to get access to that. But you have access to a lot of information from a lot of different places. And I know it was mentioned earlier that you will need to be continually learning. You're going to be wearing a lot of hats. And so we have resources to help you do that, including LinkedIn Learning and Universal Class. Both of those will require a library card number in order to get access to them, but they are a great resource for different tutorials on a wide range of topics, including QuickBooks, I think was mentioned earlier. So definitely want to get into that. All right. And if you are looking for, maybe you don't want, the individual customer, but you want to see where your customers can be found in a group, you might want to use a resource called Gale Directory Library. And it has an encyclopedia of associations. So in this case, if I have a pet supply business and it's specifically about birds, maybe there's some type of bird association, and I can go to their conference, set up a table, and promote my business there. I did want to mention that we do have the option to help you use these resources. You can book a librarian. It's a one-on-one session to go over the resources and how to use them. But if you go to our website, you can also see other business development events that are going on in and around Mecklenburg County. And of course, this is a library. And so we have books that's digital and physical books available as e-audio, or if you have a CD player still, we have stuff on disc as well. So why should you have a library card? We're here to fill in your business plan. We want to help you find your customers, and we just want you to be successful. So if you have any questions, please let me know. But I thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you so much, Yolanda. The information you provided for the Mecklenburg libraries is invaluable. I quite often refer some of my clients to go to the library, because what better resource is there that's free that you can research any topic that you want. So we're at the end of our sessions. Before we close out, does anybody have any questions at all? I see some people are already leaving. That's fine. Couple more minutes here. All right.
I see
Well,
LaRonda has her hand up, but
I
is
wanna-
that a LaRonda has a hand
I-
up?
Yes.
There's a couple
Ah,
questions to
go ahead.
Yolanda. How long does it take to get a library card?
So it doesn't take long at all. If you're a Mecklenburg County resident, then you can go into any branch with your photo ID and proof of Mecklenburg County resident. It takes about 5 minutes. Right now, for our non-residents, because we just made a switch with our system integration, our online application is not available right now. But if you come back to us maybe in a month or so, we should have that back up. The question for Wake County does have similar resources. I believe, wait, is Durham in Wake County? Durham isn't in Wake County, is it? Durham is in Durham County. But yes, I think Wake County does have a great.
One other question, Yolanda. Yeah, go ahead.
Raleigh is in Wake County. Yes, Raleigh does have similar resources. So they would have access to the NC Live resources. I don't know if they have Simply Analytics, but they do have access to NC Live. So everything else pretty much should be available to you if you live in Raleigh.
All right. Any other questions? Let's see. Which, if any, resources you mentioned are available via NC Live, especially the Durham County? Yolanda, if you're still on.
Data Axle reference solutions, it's available through NC Live. ABI Inform is going to be available through NC Live. Masterfile Premier would be available via NC Live. And so you can actually go to nclive.org. And when you get to their page, it'll say resources, and you can filter on the business resources. When you try and go to any of those, it's going to ask you for your library card in your library. So your library should be in that list. You can put in your library card from that county.
Okay. One more question, Yolanda. Can I get master class with a library card? If so, are you
Ooh.
referring to the master class learning show?
So you actually might get access to some master classes through Canopy. I don't think I said master class, and I apologize if I was mumbling and you couldn't understand me. But I think we do have access to some master classes through our Canopy resource. You know what? Nope, that's great classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but James, if you could just send me your email address, I can check and see. Or if y'all are going to answer some more questions, I can check in our resources right quick to see if Master. And Canva is a free resource. We do not have a paid Canva account available through the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. We do offer digital literacy classes for Canva, but we're using the free account. We're not using the paid account.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone? There's a question from James. How should I send my email over?
Can you send it directly? Do y'all have that option to send just directly to the host and panelists instead of everyone? Just send it to hosts and panelists, please.
Yeah, James, just send it to the host, and then we'll send it over. Yolanda will get it. This way, you don't have to send it to everyone here in the group. But thank you to my co-host Eric Overcash. Thank you very much to Yolanda for a great presentation as always, and thank you all for joining us today. And hope to see you, some of you, in our mentorship program. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Yolanda, are you see James' email address here?
Yes, I grabbed it and I put it in another email, so I'm good to go. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, very good. Thank you for, as always, for your presentation.
All right. Thank y'all for having us. Bye.
So long.